Hi, I'm Rich Torrey. Welcome to another Level Up Cartooning. All you ever need to follow along with me is a pencil and paper. It doesn't get any easier than that, right? Well, we've got time for one more Halloween-themed lesson this month. So I thought we'd do something a little different and draw our own Halloweenish scene, something that tells a story, or at the very least conjures up that spooky Halloween vibe. I did a few of these last Halloween and I had a lot of fun. Maybe we'll make an annual event of it. Anyway, today we're going to draw a scene that conjures up the feeling of fear. We're going to draw a few trick-or-treaters, as well as some of the things they encounter. A little trick-or-treat terror, if you will. This one, like the one I did last year, is inspired by the dark and macabre illustrations of Danish illustrator John Ken Mortensen. I encourage you to look him up. His stuff is amazing. With this drawing, we're also going to touch on what I call page management. In other words, how best to lay out a drawing so as to use the space on the page in a pleasing way. Anyways, I think you're going to really have fun with this one. Before we get started, make sure you hit the thumbs up and the subscribe button as it helps this channel to grow, and hit the bell so you never miss a lesson. Okay, so let's draw our Halloween night nightmare. We're going to use my Level Up cartooning process to create our Halloween scene. We aren't going to start with one of the character's eyeballs and hope that everything we want somehow fits on the page, especially with 5 subjects in this drawing. No, we're going to think it through and plan it out, starting with a roadmap. In this step, we're going to lightly sketch out where everything will go. The focus of all my lessons is on the drawing process, so we're not going to color anything here. You just need a pencil. You'll see me use 2 different color pencils during this and most of my videos. I do that simply to separate the steps in the Level Up cartooning process. That's the only reason I do that. Before we start, I also want to encourage you to put your own spin on this. Maybe you want to have more than 2 trick-or-treaters. Maybe they're wearing some other costumes. And maybe you want different monsters or ghosts. By all means, change it. That's what makes this so much fun. Okay? So let's start with that roadmap for our Halloween night nightmare scene. So there's our roadmap for our little Halloween night nightmare. Now we're on to step 2. In this step, we do what I call roughing out the features. I want to remind you that until the 3rd and final step, you want to draw as light as possible. You may have noticed that I use guidelines to help you to know where to put the trick-or-treater's eyes and a few other things. We don't want those guidelines in the final drawing, so you want to draw them light enough to be able to erase them easily. So let's rough out the features for our Halloween night nightmare scene. Okay, so there are the roughed out features for our Halloween Night Nightmare drawing. So with the roadmap done and the features roughed out, it's time for that final step. This is where we get to have fun. We get to draw in the final details of our Halloween Night Nightmare. We don't have to guess where to put things because we've already done all the hard work to figure that out. In this step, it's okay to draw darker, but don't press too hard or mindlessly retrace over the lines you've already drawn. Always draw with an eye on tweaking and improving until the very end. One last thing. When drawing the fur on these creatures, you'll notice I don't just draw random lines all over their bodies. I use groups of 4 or 5 lines together to form a little tuft of fur. Then do the same thing next to it, above it, below it, and so on, over and over again. It's something that, while it's not difficult, it does take practice. Even more so, it takes a lot of patience. In other words, don't be in a hurry. If you have to, take a break from it. Just thought I would point that out. Give it a try, and don't press too hard while you're doing it. So let's draw in the details for a Halloween Night Nightmare. Alrighty, there it is. This year's version of a Halloween Night Nightmare. So how do you think you did? Understand, if you've never drawn something like this before, you can't expect to have drawn it perfectly. I want you to focus on the fun you had creating it. You notice I don't spend time coloring the scene during the video because I want my lesson to focus solely on the drawing process. And I had the secret formula, the process for drawing this Halloween Night Nightmare scene. Hopefully you also learned a little about the importance of planning out your drawing. In other words, managing your page. For those of you who want to go a little deeper, click on the link below for my free 4-part drawing series, where I spend more time explaining the details and the thinking behind each step and what I call the level up cartooning process. So I'd love to see your Halloween Night Nightmare scene. If you can, take a picture and post it on either Facebook or Instagram. And don't forget to include the hashtag level up cartooning. I hope you had as much fun as I did with this one. Remember to subscribe, and thanks for joining me. Until next time, keep drawing, my friends. Oh, and have a happy Halloween.